Have you ever walked away from a conversation confused, second-guessing yourself, wondering if you were the problem when deep down something didn't feel right? You know, you might not be crazy. You might be getting gaslit. So grab a snack, come on back, and let's get into the next letter in our alphabet, G, gaslighting. Hey, my beautiful souls, we are back to our series, the ABCs of Toxic Friendships and Relationships. And today we're on the letter G. And this one right here, this one, it doesn't shout because none of these things are loud. You know, they come in like a whisper sometimes, right? It doesn't break things. And it doesn't always look toxic on the outside, but it will quietly dismantle your confidence from the inside out. So today we're talking about G for gaslighting. Gaslighting is when someone manipulates you into questioning your own reality. Not just what happened, but what you felt, what you heard, what you experienced. They don't just lie. They don't. They make you feel like you're the one who's wrong for noticing. Gaslighting doesn't always come loud, like I said earlier. Sometimes gaslighting sounds like, that never happened. You're too sensitive. You always twist things. You're remembering it wrong. I never said that. I never did that. And over time, you start thinking, wait, did I make that up? Did I imagine that? But, you know, the real damage, the real damage, and the real damage, why gaslighting is so dangerous, why this is so dangerous, because it doesn't just hurt your feelings, right? It breaks your trust with yourself because you start doubting yourself. And you're like, oh, maybe I was wrong about that. Or, you know, nah, that didn't, no, that didn't, yeah, I guess that didn't happen. Been there, done that. Very recent, been there, done that. So you stop trusting your instincts and trusting your memory. Because you know, you remember it very clearly and distinctly. You know what happened. But when somebody's trying to manipulate the situation, then you start doubting yourself and second guessing, right? And you stop trusting your emotions. You stop doing that. And once someone separates you from your own truth, right, they gain that control. It's all about the control of a narrative and a situation. And why people gaslight. You know, let's be real for a second. People who gaslight are usually avoiding accountability. Let me say that again. People who gaslight are avoiding accountability. These are the people that change the narrative, make up a whole scenario and a whole story that never even happened to suit themselves, right? Because they're trying to protect their image, and they want to maintain that control over the situation. You know, when you start seeing it clearly and other people start seeing it clearly, their behavior gets exposed, and they don't want to be exposed. So they're going to manipulate, gaslight, and do all the things except being accountable for what they've really done. And there are so many signs that you're being gaslit. And I'm going to tell you how you know, right? You constantly feel confused after conversations. Like you have and you're like, wait a minute. After the end of the conversation, you're like, wait, what? Wait, what? That's not what happened. I know I saw that. And I know that's not what happened, right? You constantly apologize when you didn't do anything wrong. Why should you apologize? Because they have changed the narrative and they have manipulated everybody. So now you have to apologize? Absolutely not. You constantly second guess your memory. Why? You know, no disrespect. My mother had dementia. To anybody who is dealing with that awful, dreaded disease, dementia and Alzheimer's, and the different stages of that. But you know doggone well, that's not your story. That's not your story. You are sharp as a tack, and you remember what really happened. You do. And, you know, you constantly feel like you're too much or too emotional. Because that's how they make you feel. You're so emotional. You know, you're doing too much. No. They just don't want to take accountability for their actions, right? So deep down, something in you is saying, this ain't right. It's not right. And, you know, let me say this to you from a woman who has lived, okay? I am in my sexagenarian era, soon to be 62 years young. I have lived. And most of you here can walk a millisecond in my shoes. You really couldn't. If something feels off, and if your spirit is unsettled, like I keep saying during this whole series, what my mother always says to me, right? What she always said to me. She still says things to me, but what she always said to me, my beautiful Jewel Morales, she said, follow your first mind. Follow your first mind. You never go wrong, right? You never go wrong when you follow your first mind because you already know. You already know. Trust that. Trust your gut. Trust your instincts. Trust your mind. Because you know, right? Your intuition will whisper. It's going to whisper to you long before the truth starts screaming at you. You know, you're going to get that feeling in the pit of your stomach. Your intuition is going to whisper to you that, yeah, that's not right. It's not. And how to protect yourself. You know, you don't argue with gaslighting. Don't argue with gaslighting at all. You don't try to prove your reality. No, you don't. But instead, you stand firm in what you know. Stand firm. You stop over-explaining yourself because you don't need to. You don't. You create emotional distance. Get away from there. Get out of that situation. And sometimes you just walk away completely, right? Just walk away completely. Because peace is more important, and I've said this before in this series, is more important than proving a point. You don't have to prove a point. And you don't have to apologize for a damn thing. You don't. Because people are always going to try to manipulate and change the narrative to suit them. Right? And you know you don't have to apologize for anything. Because you already know what you did and what you said was the truth. But when people aren't accountable for what they do, they're not accountable for their shit, then they put that back on you. And then they have you second guessing like, well, I must have been wrong. Or no, you weren't. You were not. Gaslighting, it only works when you start doubting yourself. Don't do that. You know, the real healing for this whole thing is coming back home always to the truth. You know what it is. You know what it is. Your voice matters. Your memory matters. And your experience matters. Don't let anybody rewrite reality. Don't do that. Don't let them rewrite it. And don't, cow down. Don't do that. Because you know what was true. Don't let somebody bully you into saying you're sorry for something that you didn't do. You did nothing wrong. You didn't. You assessed the situation. You said something, right? Or you did something, or whatever the case may be. And they decided to change the narrative and switch it up so people get looking at you crazy. When they're the one that didn't take accountability. They just didn't. So that, ladies and gents, is G, gaslighting. I hope that something in this series is resonating with each and every one of you, because this has been a joy to put together. I've had this series in mind since 2025, and to put it together now and to bring it to the forefront is amazing. And the feedback that I'm getting in the positive comments from you all, I know you all are liking it, because we all deal with these things every single day. Each and every one of us does, unfortunately, deals with something like this each and every day. So I'm glad that I can share this with you, and that you can share these things and talk to it with friends and say, this is what I was dealing with. This is what I'm talking about. Gaslighting, that's the word I was looking for, right? Because then it goes ding, 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 ding. The light bulb goes off and you're like, oh, that's what it is. That's what I've been dealing with all along. So on that note, we got to get ready for H. H is a good one. And that'll be coming up very, very soon. So I want you to know always that I love you plenty. I see you, and I'm so proud of you. I'm proud of us as a community and a collective. And I just want you all to really, really resonate with the things that I'm talking about here. But even if you don't, no harm, no foul. Leave it for somebody else. So I'll see you on the next one. The letter H for hidden agendas. Deuces.